Okay, resuming. Now the Berkeley train tracks was a place where we spent, or at least I remember spending time on mini bikes and riding around. And this was one of my first and earliest memories of getting in trouble. Here's an apple tree. And Doreen Schroeder lived down this block. This block coming up is Park Avenue. I'm going to make a right on Park Avenue, and we're going to go take a little drive. The streets are very clean and the houses look the same. Doesn't seem as though anything's changed. Nope. Nothing's changed much. This is where Doreen Schroeder lived, from what I can remember. Park Avenue. On our left, we'll be approaching Richard. Cut across the car here, and to our left, we have Richard Avenue, the block where it all happened, where we all grew up. This house, this first house, I think is the Campese's house, right? Yep, Campese. I think there was a Tony Campese. I think there were some sisters. And so here's the corner of Richard Avenue and Park Avenue. So I'm going to take a left on Richard, which is our block. And here we go, down Richard. Okay, this is the Campese side of the block. This is our side of the block. And I don't remember who lived in these houses, but it's still so pristine and so simple, really simple. Little trees, little houses, little pine cones. 1143 Richard. Now this house here, I seem to remember there was a house where we thought the house was kind of haunted, and I remember it being really big. It probably was this house, which of course is just a tiny two-story ranch, but this was probably the house that we thought was the giant haunted house. I think it probably had some overgrown brush around it back then, and that's probably all cut down. I think that added to the hauntedness quotient. 1101. Moving right along here. All the houses on Richard Avenue. Now, as I look across the street here on Richard, across the street here on our right, I believe, coming up on our right, this red brick house, I think, is the Tessum's house. Yeah, because they had a fire hydrant in their yard. Wonder if they paid extra for that from McGaw. Looks like McGaw is still selling houses around here. Yep, this is the Tessum's house. I remember that. Put your hand down. Silly. So, yep, that's the Tessum's driveway. I remember playing hockey on this driveway because it had a nice slope and a good long stretch. So here's the Tessum's house here to the right. Now moving right along here on the left, moving along. Getting closer to 1139. Let's go back across the street here on Richard. This side here, this might have been the Squeo's house, right? This is 1123. Mom and Dad might remember that. Actually, I think the Squeo's house was 1119, which is that red one with the flags on it. I'm not sure though. And then we come across 1127. 1127. And continuing along on the Berkeley side of things, on the Richard Avenue side of things. Now, 1131, I don't remember who lived here, but they're next door from Chippy DeGrace. And this house, I swear, looks like Chippy DeGray still lives there. Look at this beautiful landscaping. And right next door we see 1139 Richard. Now we all know 1139 Richard. This is our house. Can you imagine how large these pine trees have gotten? So there's the wheel well. I remember hiding in that little well that leads to the basement. And those are our bushes up front. There's the picture window, and there's the kitchen window, right? The kitchen window is where Mom used to wait up and smoke cigarettes, waiting. We could see the cigarette lit when we came up the driveway. So this is 1139 Richard. This is where we grew up. Here's our driveway. This is where Tommy had Demetria and I dance for money. We had a picnic table on this. We had a picnic table set up out here, and we would do shows, put shows on. And that driveway is where I smashed into the driveway door because my bicycle wheels were wet, and it was the first time I ever had handbrakes. So there's 1139 Richard. It really looks the same. Looks like they got some awnings, but I don't know if we had those or not. I can't remember. Maybe we did. We probably did. But can you believe this little tree is a tree I think Mom and Dad planted, and it is now a giant pine tree. Look at that. That's a giant pine tree right here. And those are the bushes up front. You know, that one bush always had more trouble growing. The one on the left was always barely making it. I remember that even when we lived here. So the one on the right grew a lot faster. So moving along 1139 Richard, there's our front door. And our front door with the long... Oh, I picked up some pine cones, by the way, from this pine tree, which all of you will get. But there's our front door, and this is Hello Berkeley's house. So there's our backyard, and there's our front door. I have some close-ups of these, which I'll share with you later. And as we come across, here's going across the street. Here's across the street from our house at 1139. Yeah, that's across the street, directly across the street. Everything really kind of looks the same. Everything looks the same. So moving across here,